Be quiet is the best advice that I can give you. I'm referring this to your big plans in life. I had a friend of mine, he just gave me a call. He was a little bit sad. Let's just call him John. Obviously, it's not John, but let's just give him a name. So he called me, we've been friends for a long time. And he said, look, for a decade now, whatever I do, it's not moving, right? Like, so big plans and this and that and whatever, right? So I told him, look, you have to be quiet when it comes to your big plans. So he looked at me, he said, like, what do you mean? I mean, look, big plans require big energy, massive undertaking, stuff that you cannot sleep at night, right? So, and then the small plans, they're nothing, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm going to the gym, I will lose some weight, I will stop smoking, stop drinking and stuff like that. Those are, small plans that you know what I mean? You can talk to other people. But when it comes to these big plans, massive energy, right? Like that only you know, keep it to yourself. Because when you tell someone your plan, you're losing your energy. Your energy gets divided. Now, depending who you're talking to and stuff like that, but nevertheless, think about that for a second. If you have a big, massive plan, undertaking that you only know, right? You share it with someone, that someone might listen to you, might, take 5-10 minutes, 1 hour, 7 days, whatever the amount of time is. But let me tell you something. If they sincerely are on your side, they'll probably laugh, or they will have that inner, that inner laugh. And all you need is someone to say, you and that big plan, or whatever that is, building a house, making a business, making your first million, 10 million, 100 million, whatever keeps you up at night. Don't forget, if that plan that you have, you don't need anyone. You need yourself. If you're sure, if you cannot sleep, keep going. You don't need to ask anybody, right? So just be careful. So let's not get into another realm here, but sharing energy, and when you share your idea, you share an energy, right? So you might actually jump on a different timeline, right? Like, I don't want to get into that stuff, but think about it. If somebody misguides you, or if they're not trying to misguide you, but they have that scarcity. Like, you want to get to your first million, but maybe it's scary for them. So maybe they'll do anything in their power just so they can calm themselves down. And they'll kind of slowly try to talk you out of it. Then you will start second guessing, and on and on and on. So then you might decide, okay, I get it. So let me just talk to somebody big, somebody with a lot of experience. So we like to lean towards people that have wealth, they have money, a nice car, a watch, maybe they live in a nicer area than you, or whatever. So you just walk up to them and you're like, hey, look, I have this big, huge plan, keeps me up at night. And what do you think I should do? Be careful. You have to be careful, because their judgment from the top, it's different, right? Because when you're talking to them, they're analyzing and they're trying to decipher your idea, right? And they're just trying to see how big of equity stake is it in it, right? So while you're talking, most of the time they'll be like, hey, Johnny, it's big fetch. Don't worry about that. Take small steps. You don't need to take small steps. Take the biggest step You can. Because all these guys, right? Most of them, like let's not call them all these guys, but most of these guys looking from the top, like because you're a small guy, you're walking in, so you need some kind of an acknowledgement. Very few people in business, friends, or successful, wealthy people will tell you, look, man, go for it. Just go for it. Go get it, right? So then Johnny, my friend, made up friend, well, his name is made up, but he asked me, so what about my dad? What about my father? I said, well, look, it's a solid question, and I believe that you should speak to your dad, and your dad is if it's a real dad and a real father, it's truly your friend and has your back and all of that stuff. But you have to be careful with these big, solid, massive plans, because even your dad will look at that and will have your back, but also will try to put a lot of these fences around you. Like, you know what I mean? Because the love from father to son is simple. Like, you know, your father doesn't want you to fail. So if a father is laying back and thinking about your massive plan, he would probably try to put these fences around and cushions and all of that. You don't need anybody. Just go for it. The bigger, the better. If you have goosebumps, if you cannot sleep, if you're constantly thinking about that, how you're going to make it, you don't need anybody's approval. Just go and get that. Think about that for a second. Just think about that for a second. Take your energy, calm down, save your energy. I mean, speak to your dad, obviously, right? Like, you know, small plans, chitty chat, and all of that stuff is fine. Now, let me add something else. Your mother. Look, your mother wants the best for you. Safety, you know, all you being tucked in and having that secure plan. Well, let me tell you something. If you have a plan B, you already failed. Think about that. You are already failed. So there's a saying, you know, when these warriors went to an island, right? So the general, you know, he has his ships and all the army behind him, and he's, you know, trying to encourage them on the way to this particular island. And you know, one warrior got up and said, look, when we get there, we will be outnumbered, right? And the general gets up and says, like, I know. There are probably 10 folds of other soldiers on this particular island. But then when he got to the island with his ships, he told his soldiers to burn down the ships. Think about that for a second. And they won the war, right? So when you get there, burn the ships, you're on the island, no going back. So if you have a plan B, you have already failed. So I want to thank my friend for giving me this call. I was inspired to make this short video, and in hopes that it might help someone else. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time.